right, guys, we are in our second week of 1 month to change the world. Last week, we put out all these offering envelopes out on the front of the stage, and we had this envelope challenge. If you weren't here last week and you didn't grab an envelope, that's okay. You can either grab one, you can come talk to me or one of the leaders afterwards, and we can get you one, or you can just make up your own, and man, like invest in Speed the Light. So what are we talking about? Why am I saying we have 1 month to change the world? It's all because we are seeing what we can do in 1 month for Speed the Light, okay? Now, if you don't know what Speed the Light is, you weren't here last week, you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I will explain in just a minute, don't worry. But man, Speed the Light provides so much for missionaries all over the world. So we're giving to missions. We're going to change the world this month, all right? We are absolutely going to do it. We're going to do something big, like real big. I got these big dreams, big goals. I'm like, guys, we can do something really big in 1 month. We can change the world in 1 month. And so we came up with these different things. We've got different levels of giving, okay? We're going to kind of like, so what are we giving to? What are we reaching? We're not just going to like give, like hopefully we get a lot of money, like, and that's it. No, we're trying to get something very specific, okay? So there's 4 specific things that we're trying to reach to get some missionaries the things that they need in order to spread the gospel, in order to tell people about Jesus. So we're going to put it up here. What's our current status? Check it out. Okay, I was like, if we get in a month, this is blowing me away. You guys are incredible, by the way, incredible, because it's only been a week. This is only a week. Like, this doesn't count like what comes in tonight. We're talking about like just what came in just last week, and we didn't really even take up the offering last week, okay? But what came in a week is enough to reach level 1. What does that mean? We already have enough money to provide a sound system and a projector for our missionaries in Thailand who need that. That's amazing. That is in a week. I'm like, give yourself a hand for doing this. In a week. 1 week. And so I know for sure that we can go way beyond that, and we can get this Toyota RAV4 for our missionaries in Argentina. Because if we can provide a sound system in a week, oh my goodness, what can we do in a month? I'm just like super excited about this. I hope like you catch the excitement. I hope you catch the vision. This is really cool what we're going to be able to do in a month for missionaries, okay? Like, oh man, it's so exciting. So what does that mean? A sound system, like how much is a sound system? What is that? I will tell you where we are at. And so let's see the grand total for 1 week. In 1 week, you guys gave $2,185.02. So we provided that sound system, that projector. We're going to be able to do that. Like, that's amazing. That's so incredible, okay? So, anyway, all that to say, the only thing about that number right there is, if you'll remember, me and Ryan are going to go to the roof. For every $1,000 given, we will spend 1 hour on the roof. So already, I am stuck on the roof for 2 hours with Ryan. Wow. Okay, so man, it's gonna be a lot more than that. I know it. Like, I know you guys can get there. Like, we're gonna, like, I don't care if I'm on there for like a full 24 hours. Like, that would be amazing if we got $24,000. Like, that would be absolutely incredible. So like this is amazing. Keep giving, keep going. And I know, like, you're like we didn't even take up the offering. Again, like, you haven't even started to fill your envelopes, most of you. So like, this is amazing. So like, keep it going, man. Bring in like a big offering for Speed Light, and watch what happens for a mission. This is amazing. Okay, so not only that, remember the top 3 giving students that give to Speed Light this month will receive. The top one, the number 1 giving student that gives to Speed Light this month will receive free fuel. Fuel is our retreat that we do like right before school starts. It's the biggest and best thing that we do at Brightmoor Youth every single year. You get to go for free, okay? 100% off your fuel cost. Second place gets 50% off, and third place gets 25% off the cost of fuel. Man, it's gonna be so much fun. Ryan already mentioned it, but 2 weeks from today, we are going to not celebrate Ryan's birthday. I cannot emphasize this enough. It is his birthday in 2 weeks, and we will not celebrate his birthday, okay? It's Ryan's not birthday party. So make sure that you're here to not celebrate him. I am going to roast him hard, okay? Like, just so you know, I'm going to get up here before he preaches, and I'm just going to roast him, okay? He gave me a full permission to do it. So it's going to be great. Anyway, and then 3 weeks from today, our district youth director is going to be here, and he's going to like come up and say, thank you. We're going to like celebrate. We're going to bring like what vehicles and what sound systems, stuff like that we're able to provide, and you're going to be able to like see them, take pictures. We're going to celebrate. It's going to be super cool, okay? So all that to say, why are we doing all of this? What is Speed the Light, and why should I care? That's really, like, if you're not thinking it, like I'm telling you, like, let's think about it. Okay, let's stop. What in the world is Speed the Light, and why should you care about all of this? Okay, Speed the Light is an organization that provides communication and transportation for missionaries all over the world. What does that mean? It means if they need a vehicle to get where they're going, Speed the Light provides it, no matter what type of vehicle it is. And if they need a sound system in order to preach the gospel, they'll provide it. If they need some other means of communication, a creative way to present the gospel, Speed the Light is going to provide it, okay? And Speed the Light provides all these things. So far, Speed the Light is in over 180 countries around the world. When I saw that, I was like, I didn't know there was 180 countries in the world. But that's cool. I have no idea how many countries there are in the world. But I know 180 is a lot, so that's pretty cool. Speed the Light's in over 180 countries in the world. Speed the Light, all that they do, they have one guiding principle. There's like one thing that guides all of it, and that is that Speed the Light will only purchase equipment that is directly related to spreading the message of Jesus. That's it. It has to spread the message of Jesus. If it doesn't help somebody spread the message of Jesus and the love of Jesus, they're not going to do it. They're not going to provide it. So it's really cool. Like, that is the driving force behind it. And it's all given by youth groups like ours around the nation. Did you know this? Speed the Light. So the Assemblies of God Missionaries, which is the largest missions organization in the entire world. Largest missions organization in the entire world. All of the missionaries in that organization get their vehicles and communication equipment from Speed the Light. All of Speed the Light money is provided by teenagers. Isn't that amazing? People like you, youth groups like ours, we are providing all of the communication and transportation for missionaries in the largest missions organization in the world. And not only that, but think about this. About 70% of missionary work could not be done without Speed the Light. And it's all because of people like you, okay? So because of Speed the Light, we're sending more missionaries to the mission field than at any other time in the history of the world. So that's what Speed the Light is. That's why it's exciting. That's why we give. But I'm going to talk a little bit about tonight. We're going to break down a little scripture, and then you're going to hear some stories of Speed the Light changing some people's lives. And tonight, if you're jotting down some notes, tonight's title is A Hill of Beans. All right, that's it. A hill of beans. Now, I don't know if you ever heard that phrase, man, that doesn't amount to a hill of beans. That's not worth a hill of beans, okay? A hill of beans is like this phrase that just means it is worthless. Because what are beans? Beans are so cheap, they're basically free, okay? Beans are they're just so cheap. Beans are not worth very much at all. So a hill of beans is what we're talking about tonight. Because before we jump into what that means, why are we talking about beans tonight? Why are we talking about that? Because we're going to talk about David's mighty man. I don't know if you've ever heard about David's mighty men, but there's this passage in 2 Samuel that's incredible, and it talks about David's mighty men, and these are legends. These guys are warriors, okay? So I'm just going to highlight a few of them. The first guy is Benaiah. Benaiah is, I picture all these dudes, completely ripped, and they're just, they're the fiercest warriors that you've ever seen, the most manly men. They're his mighty warriors, because what Benaiah did is he chased a lion into a pit on a snowy day. Once he's in the pit with the lion in the snow, he grabs the thing by the tail and kills it with his sword. That's fierce. He didn't run away from the lion. He chased it, okay? The lion was afraid of him and was running away. He chases it into the pit. It's slippery. It's snowy. He grabs it. He kills it. That dude is amazing. Not only that, the same guy, Benaiah, the other thing that he did is he comes up against an Egyptian, okay? There's an Egyptian, and they were fighting against the Egyptians. The Egyptian was armed with a spear, and Benaiah didn't have a weapon with him. He just grabbed a club, okay? So basically, he just found a big stick, and he goes to battle with this big Egyptian with a spear. And what does he do? He beats the Egyptian, grabs his spear, takes it from him, and kills him with his own spear. That's awesome, right? This is a mighty man. This guy is incredible. Okay, so not only do we have Benaiah, but we got Abbashai. I like these guys' names, too. They're just fierce-sounding names. So Abbashai, he killed 300 men by himself, and all he had was a spear. Everybody else ran away. It was they retreated from the enemy during battle, and 300 men come at him at one time, and he stands his ground with just a spear. They're armed with swords and shields and everything. He's like, I got this. And boom, he takes out 300 of them by himself with just a spear. Three of these mighty men, all banded together at one point, and this is what happened. This is during battle. David, he's hiding out in this cave, and he kind of leans on this rock, And David says, oh, what I wouldn't give for a drink of water from from the well near the gate of Bethlehem. It's where he grew up in Bethlehem, and so he's like thinking like, man, when I was a kid, I used to drink from that water, and man, it was great. It was always cool, always clean, always refreshing. Like, man, I wish I had some water from that well. He's just kind of like reminiscing. These three dudes are like, we got you. And they run and they take off and they break through enemy lines because the enemies had that territory. They break through enemy lines. They're fighting people off. They get some water from that well. They come back and they're like, we got you. We brought you the water. They risked their lives and they broke through enemy lines just for a bucket of water. These guys were incredible. Then you have Joshua. Joshua, you remember the guy that killed 300 men by himself with a spear? Joshua did the same thing, but he did it with 800 men. 800 men were running against him from the enemy army. And when they came towards him, he's like, no, I got this. Everybody else is running away, but not me. And he kills 800 of them. All he had was a spear. Then you have Eleazar. Eleazar fought enemies by himself. Again, there's all these. I'm like, why is everybody else except the mighty man scared and running away? But that's a different story. Okay, so they're running away. He stays where he's at, and he fought against the enemy armies all day long. And the Bible says that he fought so hard for so long that by the end of battle, his hand was frozen to his sword, and he could not let go. Like, that's amazing. That is incredible. These are some beasts, like, of war. Like, these guys are legends, absolute legends, okay? Now, why are we talking about legends? Man, like, because I believe that you guys have what it takes to be legends. Not in a way where you're killing people with spears, right? Like, please don't do that. But stories are passed down through generations. Generations and generations of stories are passed down about these mighty men. And I look at that, and I'm like, man, I want to leave a legacy. I don't know about you, but I want to leave a legacy. I want people to talk for a long time about Brightmoor Youth. Like, did you guys hear about that youth group in Michigan? Did you hear what they did in 1 month? Did you hear what they provided for missionaries? They literally changed the course of so many people's lives in 1 month. Did you hear about what they did? I want us to do something big. I want to encourage you guys to dream big. What can you do in 1 month to do something big for Speed the Light? And so that we can be legends, not for our own glory, but for God's glory, so that we can say, like, man, look what we were able to do for the kingdom of heaven in 1 month. There's one more mighty man that I want to talk about. This is another one of David's mighty men. This is the last one. This is the one I want to focus on, really. It's in 2 Samuel chapter 23, verses 11 and 12. It says, then there was Shammah. Shammah, I like that name, all right? Shammah is the guy that we are talking about tonight. Shammah. It says this, when the Philistines banded together at a place where there was a field full of lentils, that's like beans if you don't know what lentils are, Israel's troops fled from them. But Shammah took his stand in the middle of the field. He defended it and struck the Philistines down, and the Lord brought about a great victory. All right, again, everybody's always running away, but David's mighty men are standing their ground and they're fighting. And here's what's crazy about the whole thing. He stayed where he was at, and he defended a field of lentils. That's like beans, okay? It's basically beans. Beans and lentils are pretty much the same thing. So, like, a field of beans, that's why we're calling it a hill of beans, okay? It was worthless. Everybody else says, I'm running away. I'm not defending this. I'm not risking my life for a field of beans. And Shammah said, no, you know what? I will fight for what nobody else will fight for. I will fight for what everybody else says doesn't matter. And now we're going somewhere with that. I want you to understand what we're talking about here. What I'm saying is it didn't seem significant, but he wouldn't let the enemy take even something small. He defended what nobody else would. He went to war for something that nobody else would fight for, a field of beans. It was a field of beans. And what am I saying? For the whole nation of Israel, in the grand scheme of the whole nation, a field of beans probably didn't matter. But Shammah probably understood, you know what? Maybe it doesn't matter to the whole nation, but maybe this is a strategic battleground. And we don't need to give up this right here. And maybe he understood as he was standing there fighting for his life and fighting to defend this field of beans. I guarantee you it mattered to the farmer that owned that field. It mattered to that farmer's family. That was their life. That was their livelihood. It's how they lived, right? It's how they made a living. Whoever owned that field of beans, Shema said, man, I'm defending their livelihood. I'm defending their home. I'm defending this family. Nobody else is willing to stay and fight for this family, but I will. Nobody else is willing to stay and fight for this field of beans, but I will stay and fight. And so the question to you today is, what will you fight for that nobody else will? What will you fight for that nobody else will? Because there are people in this world that everybody looks at and says, I'm not fighting for them. I'm not fighting for that. They're insignificant. What is this? In the grand scheme of the world, they don't matter. But you know what? Every single one of them matters to God. And will they matter to you? Will you fight for what nobody else will fight for? What will you fight for that nobody else will? What is it that you're going to stand on? What's the hill that you're going to die on? What's the hill that you say, you know what? I will fight for this and nobody else will. See, I heard this story. There was this man, he was a writer. He wrote books and he liked to go to the beach in order to write his stories and get inspiration, right? He looked at the beach, he looked at the ocean, he looked at the waves. And so he's sitting on the beach and he's kind of writing his story. It's peaceful and it's calm. And this writer, this man, he sees way, way off in the distance, he sees this little boy. And this little boy is walking along the beach by himself. And way, way down the beach, this boy is walking and he stops, he picks something up and he throws it. And then he keeps walking. And then he picks something else up and he throws it and he keeps walking. He picks something else up and he throws it. And the man kind of stopped writing. He just keeps looking at this boy as he gets closer and closer. Like, what is this boy doing by himself? What is he throwing into the ocean? And as he gets closer, he realizes what this boy is doing is he's reaching down, he's picking up starfish off the beach and throwing them back into the ocean. And once the boy gets close enough to talk to him, the man said, hey, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm picking up these starfish and I'm throwing them back into the ocean because if nobody does this, then when the sun comes up and it gets hot, when the sun gets hot in the day, you know what? These starfish are going to die. The tide has washed them up onto the beach and they're not going to be able to get it. And these starfish are all going to die unless somebody throws them back in. And the guy looks at what the little boy is doing and he looks way down the beach as far as he can see, thousands upon thousands of starfish that are washed up on the beach. And the man's like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time because there's no way that you can get all of them. Like you're not even putting a dent in it. What are you doing? It doesn't matter. And we said, it doesn't matter. The little boy smiled at him. He reached down, he picked up another one. He threw it into the ocean. He said it mattered to that one. Right? The little boy understood every single one that he did, it mattered to them. It made a difference to that starfish. And so why do I tell you that story? Is because I know that when I give to Speed the Light, sometimes I give my money to Speed the Light. I give every single month. I give money to Speed the Light. And sometimes I might look at that and be like, man, is it really doing anything? Am I really making a difference? In the grand scheme of the world, 7 point whatever billion people in the world. How many of them don't know Jesus? A lot. Is my money that I'm giving to Speed the Light, is it really doing something? Is it really doing anything in the grand scheme of the world? What if the world hunger problem? The people, as I give to Speed the Light, people like Convoy of Hope are able to bring food to people that are hungry and clean water to drink. And really in the grand scheme of the world hunger problem, is it solving anything? Am I really going to change the world with that? Like, is it doing anything? And I would say every person that it affects, it matters to them. It matters to them. And so it's kind of like Shema with that field of beans. He stopped and he defended that field of beans because maybe it didn't matter to everyone, but it mattered to someone. It mattered to that farmer. It mattered to somebody. And so when we give to Speed the Light, this is my Speed the Light offering bucket. We're going to be able to, you're going to have an opportunity to put your Speed the Light offering in one of these buckets in just a little bit. But you know what? As I start to think about this, sometimes we look at what we give or we look at what we think about giving. We consider giving it. And we think, man, you know what? What is it? Is it just a bunch of beans? Is it worthless? It feels like this, right? Oh, my goodness. Wow. Okay. Whew. That's a lot. Okay. That was more than I expected. So check this out. It feels like nothing. Like, what is this? Is this worth anything? These beans? It's what it feels like sometimes. We put all this in the offering, like, here, I'm going to give it to the Lord, but is it really even doing anything at all? Is it doing anything, or is it just worthless? Is it a bunch of beans? Is it worth nothing? Did my Speed the Light money actually do something? See, everyone else said this field of beans didn't matter, but Shema said, it does matter. It matters to somebody. And so when you give to Speed the Light, here's the deal. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter to everyone, but I promise it matters to somebody. When I gave my money to Speed the Light over the course, every single month, over the last more than 20 years, every month of my life for 2 decades, I've given to Speed the Light. And sometimes I look at that and I say, did I do anything? Is it actually worth anything? Did I do anything at all? And maybe it didn't matter to every single person in the world. But you know who I know for sure it mattered to? We got a picture that we're going to put up. It mattered to this family that I met in Guatemala. See, we went on a mission trip to Guatemala, and you'll see that's me and that's these little kids. I promise you, when I gave to Speed the Light, it mattered to those kids, and it mattered on that other picture, that little old lady that's in that house. And here's why. Here's why I know it mattered. What we did is when we went on our mission trip, some of the team stayed in this building where we were at, and they were building desks for a school. And then the rest of our team, we split up into groups, and we jumped in some Speed the Light vehicles, right? Speed the Light. We went in some Speed the Light vehicles, and we went off into the village. And we went up to people's houses. Houses is like a loose term. It's not like houses like we live in. They have like doors with hinges on them. It's like sheet metal like leaned on each other. It's crazy. So we would come up, and we would just kind of bang on the edge of the house, and somebody would come out. And this family in particular, these little kids, they ran out. And that little guy, the littlest one, he reminded me of my son. So I stopped and I played with him while our missionary and one of the other guys on our team went in and talked to the mom. And here's the cool thing. We would go in and we would talk to them about Jesus. And the way that we would have a way to talk to them about Jesus is, see those buckets down there with those little blue things? Those are water filters. Speed the Light provided water filters for us to come in and attach a water filter to a bucket. So then this cool system is we would dip this bucket into some dirty water, because that's all they have access to is water that is absolute dirty. And it's what they clean with. It's what they drink with. It's what they cook with. And we'd scoop up this dirty water, and we would filter it all out, and it would be clean again. And we would hand them the bucket and hand them the filter and say, now you have clean water. All your water in your house, filter it through this bucket, and your water's going to be clean, and you're not going to get sick because of your water. It was so cool. But then what we would be able to do is tell them, hey, this was a message. So just like the filter cleans the bad stuff out of the water, Jesus is like a filter for your life. He's going to clean the sin out of your life, and you could be made new and pure again. And so as our missionary and the other people on our team were telling this to the mom, I was just outside and I was playing with the little boy and his siblings. And the little boy stopped as we were playing. I don't speak Spanish. I have no idea what the kid was saying. But we were smiling and we were laughing. Like joy is a universal language, right? So we were just smiling and laughing and playing. And he stopped playing and looked at his mom because he noticed that his mom was crying. And the reason that his mom was crying is because she had just accepted Jesus into her heart. She said, I want to live for this Jesus. And she felt the presence of God, and she was weeping because she was so happy that she was able to have clean water and she was able to give her life to Jesus. And in that moment, Speed the Light provided a way to provide the gospel and clean water to the people in that home. So did my Speed the Light money, did it matter to the entire world? No, maybe not. But you know what? It mattered to that mom, and it mattered to those kids. It matters to somebody, even if it doesn't matter to everyone. So I ask, does my Speed the Light money matter? Does it matter when I give to Speed the Light? Maybe it doesn't matter to everyone, but you know who else I guarantee you it matters for? It matters for this guy I met named Kayombo. Let me tell you about Kayombo. I went to Tanzania, and I met this man named Kayombo. His picture is going to come up on the screen. And when I went to Tanzania, I met Kayombo. He was our translator. We would go into different villages. It should be the next picture, guys. We would go into these villages. That's me with a buzz cut, long time ago. That's cool. That kid's wearing a Lions jersey. That's in Tanzania. That's kind of cool. Anyway, so we would go in and we would meet these kids, and we would go into different villages and we would preach the gospel. But over there on the far left, that's Kayombo. I don't have a good picture of his face. That's the only picture I have of him because he's always moving. He's always talking to people. But Kayombo, this is the cool thing about Kayombo. Kayombo knows about Jesus because a man named Roger, who's a missionary, came from the United States to Tanzania, and he drove in a Speed the Light vehicle to Kayombo's village. He preached about Jesus. Kayombo gave his heart to the Lord. So Kayombo lives for Jesus, and now he travels with Roger and his team, and he goes and he translates for the team, and he helps to start churches. And here's the cool thing, Kayombo's crazy. He's like crazy. I'm like, hey, Kayombo, like he's translating for us. He's talking a lot. And one day I see Kayombo, he's got like this egg, this raw egg. He just pokes a hole in the top and drinks it. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, hey, I think you're eating eggs incorrectly. You're supposed to cook that. Hey, he's like, no, it's good for the throat. I was like, I don't think it is, man. Like, you're weird. But here's the deal, Kayombo, as weird as he is, here's the other strange thing about Kayombo, but it's actually really cool. I said, how old are you? And he said, I don't know. I was like, what are you talking about, Kayombo? How do you not know how old you are? He's like, I don't know, I think I'm about 60 or 70, 60s or 70s, something like that. I was like, how do you not know? And it turns out Kayombo talks about how he doesn't live his life by like time. He never knows what time it is. He never knows or cares what day it is or what year it is. He doesn't like ever look at the calendar. He has no idea what year he was born or anything like that, because he doesn't live his life on like a time schedule like we do. Time doesn't dictate his life, but people do. It's way more about relationships, and that's why I don't have a picture of Kayombo's face. It's because he was never just hanging out like looking at me for to take a picture. He was always talking to somebody. He's always having like, hey, let's start a conversation. And he would always talk about Jesus. And so what he did is once he got saved, because Roger came in a Speed the Light vehicle to his village and told him about Jesus, he then jumped in Roger's Speed the Light vehicle and went with him to different villages. And Kayombo, over the course of his life now, at that point when I talked to him, it's probably way more now. At that point, he had personally started from scratch over 40 churches by himself. What he would do is he would go into another village and he would tell them about Jesus, and then he would raise up a pastor. He would teach somebody how to disciple people and pastor a church, and then he would leave it with them, and then he would go to the next village and he would preach. He'd tell them about Jesus, raise up a pastor, go to the next village, and he did that over 40 times. He personally has planted over 40 churches, and it all started when Roger went in a Speed the Light vehicle. So when you give to Speed the Light, it might not matter to the whole world, but I promise you it matters to Kayombo, and it matters to every single one of those villages, every single one of those churches, every one of those. Does my Speed the Light money matter? Or is it like Shema, where you know what? Is it worth anything? I guarantee you it's worth something to somebody. What will you fight for? Who will you fight for? I will tell you, Speed the Light is fighting for what nobody else will fight for. The next person that I know for sure that it matters to our missionaries that we support in Bangladesh. See, Bangladesh, it's a tiny nation tucked away in southern Asia. And it's known for three things. Three things is what Bangladesh is known for. It's known for overpopulation, flooding, and poverty. I think it's the next slide. Whenever I talk about the next story, the next slide. There we go. And you know what? This Speed the Light vehicle that's provided to our missionaries in Bangladesh, they wrote this about it. They said, sometimes we call our Speed the Light vehicle our Speed the Light boat as we drive through the flooded streets with water almost coming in the doors. Sometimes we call it a Speed the Light monster truck covered in mud. This brought us to tiny roads and villages to plant new churches. Sometimes we call it our Speed the Light moving van because it's transported Speed the Light generators, Speed the Light sound systems, Speed the Light video projectors. Sometimes we call it our Speed the Light tour bus because it's brought teams to tell God's love through drama and music to kids in poor neighborhoods. So when you give to Speed the Light, it might not matter to the entire world, but I promise you it matters to our missionaries in Bangladesh. When you give to Speed the Light, it doesn't matter to everyone, but I promise you it matters to somebody. You know who it matters to? It matters to a missionary named Dennis. Dennis works in Thailand. Remember, we're providing that sound system for missionaries in Thailand. Dennis works in Thailand. And in December 2005, there was a devastating tsunami that wrecked most of the nation of Thailand. And Speed the Light provided 2 vans on the backside of that tsunami to provide some relief. They provided 2 vans to Dennis and his team, and those 2 vans are still in use today where the tsunami hit. See, 1 van is now used to help orphans. And get this, there are over 100 orphans that Dennis and his team minister to every week and help and share the love of Jesus with. And the reason these 100 kids are orphans is because they lost their parents in this one tsunami. So this tsunami created so many orphans. And Dennis and his team are going and they're helping them. So, man, you know what? It might not matter to everyone, but I promise you it matters to Dennis, and it matters to every one of those 100 orphans. Every single one of them, I guarantee you it matters to them. And here's the other cool thing about Dennis and his team. They got 2 vans. That was the first van. The second van is used every single week to transport their ministry team 2 hours north of where they live, where, get this, an entire village, everyone, 100% of the village, the entire village gave their hearts to Jesus Christ. An entire village came to know Jesus. So it doesn't matter to everyone, but you know what? That whole village, that's a whole village that came to know Jesus. Why? Because Speed the Light was able to provide a van that to a missionary named Dennis, who was able to raise up a team and go and share the love or the message of Jesus. You know who else it matters to? That Speed the Light fights for, just like Shema fights for a field of beans. Speed the Light fights for our missionary named Charles in South Africa. Charles said this in a letter saying, thank you for Speed the Light. He said, I don't know what we would do without Speed the Light. Because Charles in South Africa, they were the first ever recipients of a Speed the Light John Deere tractor. That's cool. I like that. Being from Texas, I'm like, yeah, get him a tractor. That's awesome, right? A John Deere tractor. And what they use this John Deere tractor for is for building churches. That like literal church buildings. They use this tractor to build churches. And in 2 years, Charles and his team in South Africa have built 4 churches. 2 years, they built 4 churches using this John Deere tractor. And not only do they have the John Deere tractor, but they have the 4-ton box truck. This Speed the Light 4-ton box truck is being used to haul around a 4,000-pound tent used for crusades. So what they do is not only do they build the church buildings, but they drive into these villages and towns where they don't have a church, and they set up a tent, and they do this crusade, and they tell everyone about Jesus, and people get saved, and then they can move on to the next town. They set up a tent, they tell everyone about Jesus, and they do it over and over and over, and they're able to do it because of Speed the Light. Not only that, but Charles uses his Speed the Light vehicle to take children with AIDS to a clinic to receive treatment for their illness. He does that over and over and over. These kids don't have a way of getting to the clinic, but Speed the Light provides a way. So does it matter to everyone in the grand scheme of the entire world? Maybe not, but I promise you it matters to Charles. It matters to every one of those churches. It matters to every one of those kids. It matters to the tents, the tent revivals and crusades that they're giving to the hundreds and thousands of people that are knowing Jesus because you're giving to Speed the Light. Does it matter to everyone? Maybe not. But I can tell you who it matters for. It matters to John. John is our missionary in the Middle East. I can't be more specific than that. It's just the Middle East. He kind of goes across a couple of different countries. And his Speed the Light truck helps him get where nobody else goes, to reach people who nobody else is reaching, to fight for who nobody else will fight for. Because see, one day, John and his team, they were navigating the rugged terrain where there are no roads, no trails, not even a path to direct them. What he said is it's just thousands of miles of dirt and mountains and some grass. Just driving to try to get to a place where people need to hear the gospel. And this area is home to a Muslim terror organization, and that and nomadic shepherds are pretty much the only people that live in these mountains where he's at. And on one of these drives, John and his team, one day, they stopped along the drive. They got out to make some tea and to make some lunch. And while they were there to make tea and lunch, suddenly they're surrounded by 300 goats and one 12-year-old shepherd. He was just roaming the mountains, like doing whatever shepherds do, right? So they were able to talk to this 12-year-old boy. They were able to tell him why they were there. They told him about Jesus. And here's the cool thing. Not only did they tell the 12-year-old boy about Jesus and he gave his heart to the Lord, he then introduced them to an entire nomadic tribe of shepherds. That's like all they do. They're just this nomadic tribe that nobody else knew about because they're so isolated in the mountains. And John and his team were able to go and tell this nomadic tribe about Jesus. For the first time, they heard about Jesus, and they gave their hearts to the Lord. So does it matter to everyone? No, but it matters to that 12-year-old shepherd. It matters to John, and it matters to that entire tribe that heard about Jesus for the first time. Nobody else was able to reach him. See, Speed the Light is fighting for that 12-year-old shepherd. They're fighting for his tribe. Does my Speed the Light money even matter? I'm going to tell you one last thing. It matters to this missionary in Asia. And this is one that this is so sensitive, I'm not even allowed to say this missionary's name. I'm not allowed to say the country that they're in other than Asia. The reason is because it's illegal to spread the gospel in this country. It's illegal to talk about Jesus in the place where they're at other than, I can tell you it's a female, it's a missionary, they're in Asia. As far as I can tell you about the details, but what I can tell you is that one day she drove her Speed Delight van 5 hours, driving over unfinished roads to one of the poorest villages in the country. And what she had to do when she got there is she had to explain to local officials, government officials, what she was doing there, why she was there. And she couldn't tell them, I'm here to tell them about Jesus, because she would be thrown in prison, maybe even killed. But she reaches people through medicine. She's a doctor. And so what she did is she told people, I'm here to help disabled children, physically disabled children. I'm here to help them. See, what happens in this place, in this village, that whenever there's a child with a disability in this culture, they aren't taken care of because all they're seen as is a financial liability. They're too much trouble, they're too much hassle, they cost you too much, so they never take care of their medical needs. A lot of families, many families, just all they do, if they have a child with a physical disability, they only see them as a curse. They think their family is cursed if they have a child with a physical disability. So this missionary says, when asked why we want to help those who are disabled or poor, the answer is always the same: because we love them. That's it. That's all she's allowed to say, and that's all she says, is because we love them. And on this trip, this missionary says that when she explained that to the government officials, that was enough for them that night. They said, okay, because you love these children, you're going to help them. That's cool. Come on into our village. So she went in to this town. And so the next morning they got up, they got into her Speed the Light van, and they drove. And as they rounded a corner into this city square where they could be in this government facility that was going to be kind of a makeshift exam room, a makeshift medical facility, she saw a line that wrapped all the way around the building. She didn't even know how far it went. She's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to help all of these people. But the reason that there was this massive line of people is because they heard that there was going to be a doctor that would be there to help their children who had needs, who nobody else would help them. Nobody else would give them medicine. Nobody else would give them treatment. And some of them walked all night long to get there from nearby villages and towns. She said one family even picked up their child and put them in a wheelbarrow and carried them in a wheelbarrow all night long to get there so that they could get some help. Then amazing things began to happen, because one by one, as children received medical attention for the first time, she said there was an overwhelming sense of thankfulness. See, soon the morning turned to noon, noon turned into afternoon, afternoon turned into evening, and still there was a line of people. People still kept coming in, and she would help them. She would give them medicine. She would give them treatment. She would help them know what to do for their child's disability from here on out, rather than because they were clueless. Nobody would teach them anything on how to help their child each day and each week and each month, what to do. So as she would help these people, there was, in the makeshift exam room, there were tears and there were messes. But she kept going. Finally, at the end of the night, the last child was carried in. This was a 4-year-old boy carried in by his grandfather. He was in constant pain. He was completely balled up because of this cerebral palsy that he had. His whole body was clenched so tight. And his grandfather started walking at 5 a.m., carrying him the whole way because he knew that his grandson needed help. So the grandfather, he was the last one in, carrying his grandson, and he just whispered, he said, please help him. So the doctor, she grabbed that little boy, she laid him out on the exam table, and she began to kind of massage his joints and his muscles, and it started with his wrists and his hands, because she noticed that his hands were clenched so tight for so long that she noticed that his fingernails were actually starting to grow into the skin in his hands because they were clenched so tight for so long because he was in so much pain. So she began to massage those hands out and pull, and she gave him some medicine to relax the joints and relax the muscles, and she gave him some treatment. She would massage and pull and do the right thing, and eventually she saw his fingers started to pull out a little bit. She was able to pull her hands up in there and gently pull his hands open, and once his hand was open, the grandfather reached in quickly, and he put his hand in his grandson's hand, and he said, "It's a miracle." He said, "It's a miracle. This is the first time that I have ever held my grandchild's hand." He was so happy. He said, "It's a miracle." And so then she began to massage more of his joints and his muscles and help him. And then she showed the grandfather what to do to help him each day get a little bit better and a little bit better. And so eventually he would be able to stand. He would be able to move. He would be able to walk. That he would be able to straighten out. And the grandfather, his eyes welled up with tears. And on the way out, as he carried his grandson out, he said to everyone that would hear, anyone that would listen, he would just say, "It's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's a miracle." You might look at it as like, that wasn't a miracle. It was just medicine. But you know what? Yeah, maybe the Red Sea didn't part that day. Maybe nobody walked on water that day. But you know what? To that grandfather and to that grandchild and to those people in that village, it was nothing short of a miracle. See, when I give to Speed the Light, I know maybe it doesn't matter to everyone in the entire world, but it mattered to that little boy. It mattered to that grandfather. You might think, man, when you give, is it do anything? Is it worth nothing more than a hill of beans? But be like Shema and say, no, I'm going to fight for who nobody else is fighting for. I'm going to fight with Speed the Light because Speed the Light is fighting for who nobody else will fight for. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you guys a chance to respond. I know a lot of you grabbed an offering envelope last week and you got that home and you're trying to fill it, but we're going to give you a chance to give like right here, right now. So leaders, you guys are going to grab the buckets. Go ahead and do that right now. We're running out of time, so I want to do this quickly. So dig into your pockets. If you got some cash right now that you're like, you know what, I'm just going to give it right now. Like, I'm not going to wait. You can give it now. If you've got some of you may have brought your envelope already from last week. You can give it right now. Man, we're going to do something big in a month. 1 month, we're going to change the world. You say, change the world? Why do you keep saying change the world? You're going to solve world hunger in a month. Maybe not, but I guarantee you we're going to do something that matters to somebody. Guarantee it. We provide that sound system for the missionaries in Thailand. People are going to hear about Jesus. It matters to somebody. When we provide a Toyota for our missionaries in Argentina, people are going to hear about Jesus. It's going to matter to somebody. It's going to matter to the kingdom of heaven. That's why I say we're going to change the world, because we're going to change somebody's world in 1 month. All right, and so there's a video. It's a short video, and this video is going to play. It's just another story of like, I promise you, your money, your Speed Light money goes to something real. I was able to experience it firsthand. So while that video plays, our leaders, they're just going to walk by you. We're not going to do the thing where we pass because, COVID. They're just going to walk past you with a bucket. And if you've got Speed Light offering you would like to give now, now's your opportunity. Now's your chance. Just drop it in the bucket while the video plays. And after that video plays, I've got a couple instructions before we head out. So go ahead and play that video. What is up, guys? I am riding in a Speed the Light vehicle in Panama right now with our missionary, Pastor Terry.
Hey.
Man, it is incredible to actually sit in a Speed the Light vehicle. I have given to Speed the Light consistently for the last 20 years, and to actually sit in one, to ride in a vehicle that is helping our missionaries spread the gospel is so incredible to see. It's a great experience. This is just a quick video to let you know, man, it is real. Thank you, students, for giving to Speed the Light, because when you give, it goes to something real. It doesn't just, the money just doesn't disappear out there. Who knows where it goes? No, it goes to vehicles like this, missionaries like this, to spread the gospel. Man, it was so cool when I was able to ride in a Speed the Light vehicle. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like when I give the Speed the Light, like I've never seen like where it actually goes. So this is cool. I got to like ride in it and like just go down the road in a Speed Light vehicle. I was just like pumped. I was jazzed up about doing that. So it was super cool. And I just wanted to show you guys that like it's real, okay? We experienced it firsthand. It was a real thing. It goes to real things. Like it doesn't stay here. Absolutely none of it stays here. It gets sent directly out to Speed the Light. So I want to invite all of you to stand. Go ahead and stand to your feet. I'm going to pray a blessing over you guys as you leave here. But I want to tell you one thing. As you leave, I want to ask you if you all could, when you do leave, like you could stay, you could pray with somebody, you could talk with somebody. If you ever need prayer about anything, you want to talk about this with anybody, you can talk to me, you can talk to any one of our leaders. But when you do leave, I want to ask you to leave out these doors because we got a little gift for you, all right? We got this little thing that's going to remind you of tonight. It's a little token, and when you get this, all it is, some of you are like, oh, what's the gift? Like, I'm not giving you money. Like, you're giving money to Speed Light. What I'm giving you is a little bag of beans, all right? You get a little bag of beans, and what I want to ask you to do is when you get that bag of beans, I want you to pray for our missionaries. I want it to remind you about this message tonight, about what our money does for Speed the Light, what our missionaries are doing around the world. I want you to pray for our missionaries whenever you see that. So put that bag of beans somewhere where you're going to see it on a regular basis, and I want you to get that thing, pray over it, pray over your life, pray over our missionaries. And we're going to do amazing things this month, all right? And then continuing on, okay? So remember, don't forget your gift on the way out the door. So God, I thank you so much for this group of students. God, I thank you that we are doing amazing things this month to change the world. I pray that you would bless them as they go out from here. God, I pray that you would give them creativity on how to do something big for Speed the Light that goes way beyond themselves. Give us the courage to fight for what nobody else will fight for. In Jesus' name, amen, amen, amen. You guys can